Hello everybody! This is a video that's going to go over how to create drag and drop assignments digitally. And so something that I have been working on this summer is how to create drag and drop and be able to post them on Google Classroom without the students being able to touch everything. So a lot of times when you create those, like I found when I was making things on Google Slides, and I would post them for students to do in Google Classroom, they would rearrange all this kind of things, moving things around. And so I spent some time and looked through a bunch of videos and kind of gathered a bunch of information about how to create these drag and drop assignments digitally. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. And there we go. We're going to be, move my hat away again. So the way that we're going to do this, or I'm going to do in this video, is I'm going to create it in PowerPoint, and then I'm going to take the PowerPoint and upload it into Google Classroom as Google Slides, and that's kind of where we're at. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is just a template that I made, and I didn't want to spend forever. The formatting can be crazy sometimes, and I get like very particular about things. So I went ahead and made like a title slide, and this would be like the first page for the activity, and then I'm going to create the actual activity on this video. So just a couple pointers and things that I do style-wise if you're interested. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but to create borders, I just make like a blank rectangle in the draw tools and use like transparent background and make a really thick line. So the width on the rectangle, and that makes a nice border. These are like symbols. These don't, I mean, you know, different fonts and things like that you can find on the internet. Something else that I do, because I'm a little, you'll see these off to the side, little crazy about colors. So I take a nice picture that I like all of the different colors, and this is just, I'm going to sideline this for just a second. So I really like this one. I think the one I used actually is underneath it for this one. And what you can do is, like, let's say you really like these colors, you put the picture kind of off to the side, and then you can like select, let's say I want to change the background color, go to shape fill, and then you can use the little eyedropper, and that will let you select the colors, and if you wanted to change it to a different, like that one, and then it'll actually save, you know, down here in the recent colors. So most people I don't think are that crazy about it, and it's nice because I leave it in the sides, and then I have access to it all the time. And that actually doesn't transfer to Google Classroom. I'll show you how that kind of disappears. Okay, so this is the title slide. I'm going to do this activity based on ordering numbers. And then, so I wanted to give them a little bit of notes to remind them kind of what the steps are for that. All right, so I'm going to actually go into it. Something that's nice that you can do as you're making these is, as you like the slide and you format it, and we'll do this in a second, you can actually duplicate it, and that way it saves you a lot of time, especially with the formatting. Okay, so I have some numbers here, and I like wrote down some problems so I could write them in, where I'm going to have them drag and drop. So this is all about drag and drop numbers in ascending order, and so you can just make it plain and simple, but I'm going to do a little snazzy. I always like putting my titles in like a rectangle, so I'm going to do that really quick. It just looks nice, so I can pick like one of those colors that looks pretty good. And it's like, the text of course is behind it. And so I'm doing this really fast, but if you're interested in this, just, you can always slow it down and watch which steps I do. I'm going to send it to the back, and that way, there we go, it's pretty good. And then I'm going to move this so that it's nice and center. Okay, that looks good. All right, so for this one, I'm going to do drag and drop the numbers in ascending order. And so I'm going to create, I'm only going to do one problem on this slide. So I'm going to create some shapes, and I like this one for drag and drops. So they look kind of nice. And I'm actually going to put some numbers in here, but I'm going to make the template first. So now I'm trying to think, like, do I want it on this side? I'm just going to put them up here, and then I'll put the numbers below it. So let's see, no fill. For the template, like where they're actually going to drop it, I'm going to make it just black on lines, like very simple black lines, white inside, and then we'll make this a little bit thicker so it looks nice. That looks pretty good. And then if I just copy paste, I mean, like, this can spend forever doing this stuff. And then paste again, and that looks pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good. So then if you actually click and drag, you can select everything at the same time. And I'm going to wait. I'm always hunting for these lines, but they're probably not going to show up because I have 3 things selected. So let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and group them. And then I think if I group them, those little lines. So they have these nice lines on there on PowerPoint. They look really good. And they will direct you where you're hitting center. So that's pretty good. Okay. So for the first line, I'm only going to do 3 numbers from least to greatest. Maybe I should do 1 more. I feel like 4 might be better. Let's add 1 more. And this is how it always is, right? It's just like when you make an activity, like anytime, and you can take stuff that you already have. If you have something that's drag and drop. All right, I'm going to just go ahead and regroup those 2. I'm going to like group it again. Okay. And then I'm going to like drag to the center. That looks pretty good. I'm going to maybe drag that a little bit. Okay, so that would be the template. And like again, it looks pretty good. You know, this line's a little thick for me. I'm going to let it go. Okay, I'll probably go back later and change it. Okay, so now I'm going to make the pieces that they're going to put in order. And so these would be the ones that the kids select. And I'm going to show you. I would change the outline to like a dash line so that it looks like it's movable, right? And so you could even put like for the first, well, let me like type them in first. Okay, so, and then I'm going to right click and hit edit text. And then because of course it's math, right? So we're going to hit insert and equation. Let's see what we do, like -1/7. Okay, so negative, and then I'm going to make a little fraction. And if you're a math person, oops, if you're like it's mad at me, I keep clicking on it. Okay, so if you're a math person, I feel like I have to click. I'm going to show you something else that maybe isn't that exciting if you care about formatting. A lot of times people just leave it like that because whatever. The standard font for math I don't really care for. So you can actually click this normal text here, and then you can go and change it to whatever you want. And I love Century Gothic, so I'm going to put it down. And look how much better that looks. It looks nice. Okay, and so we can make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, let's make sure. I don't know if I did that right because like it doesn't seem. There we go. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, so that would be like the first one. And then again, what's nice is you can just copy paste, right? Control C, Control V. Okay, and then we can change the next one using the math type. So this is just a regular number, but we'll just go ahead and change it. See if it'll let me change it again. It might not because it gets grumpy sometimes with the fonts. Nope, it let me. Okay. And so I would do that for each one of them, and you can kind of move them around. Maybe you want them kind of down here. Okay. Maybe over here in the corner. I'll move my head out of the way again. And let's see. Okay. And then you would just do the same thing. So, all right. I'm just Velcroing, right? Isn't that what it's called? Pasting. All right. And then 60, we'll say 65%. It keeps defaulting back to that math font. And then I would just I don't know why it's like being mad. There we go. Okay. And then that one doesn't, they don't even really need to be an equation editor, but that's okay. We'll just leave them in there. And then we'll do 3/4. So I'm going to do it over here. Okay, so once you get kind of like your pieces, I would figure out kind of where you want them. It's not really going to matter, and I'll show you why in a second, where you put them for now. But maybe you have like a certain spot, or maybe you want them all to be, sometimes you can fit them. It's like a little bit too much there. Sometimes you can fit them like all in the same spot. Or you can just kind of leave them loose on the paper. But so it's not really going to matter, because the way that we're actually going to pull all of these to the outside of the slide. And the reason why is because we don't want them saved when we save them on here. And you might even like them like this. That's actually not that bad. If you just kind of put them out like that, that looks pretty good. And you don't want them on the slide, because we're actually going to save the slides as pictures. Okay, that looks really nice. I mean, I think it looks pretty good. So they would just drag and drop those ones. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and do another one. And instead of redoing everything, right, because that's annoying, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate the slide. And that way, now I'm going to change this to descending order. Okay, so I got to type in. So drag and drop numbers in descending order. So I'm going to use the same pieces, and then I can just change the numbers, right? So it's like a lot less work. So let me see, we can do like negative. Let's actually just do regular. Okay, so 6.5, and then scientific notation is really important in pre-algebra. Okay, so I don't know why this thing is like glitching on me. Okay, so then from here you could type in all the other ones, and so I'm going to go ahead and type them in, all the different fractions, and then I'll turn it back on and I'll show you one more thing. So I got them all in there, so they look pretty good. And again, it's, you know, it's just going to leave these kind of loose pieces out to the side, and I'll show you what after I get that done. Okay, so that's kind of the drag and drop. The last thing that I was going to show on this before I upload it and show you how to convert it to a Google Classroom assignment is if you have a drag and drop into the correct spot. I want to give one where I had some parameters, so I have like the least value and the greatest value, and you're looking for the number that's in between. And so a little bit different of a question, and I'm going to put actually a few questions on this slide. So, and then I'm going to give them like a kind of a bank, like a word bank, or a number bank, I should say. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the background on here. And again, all of this is just kind of personal preference. And I'm actually going to do like a yellow, maybe. That looks pretty good. And a yellow shape, and it's like a little bit off right here. And it's nice. The red lines are amazing. They literally let you snap everything into place. Okay, and then send it back. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to bring this guy up. There it is. Okay. So those are the directions, and then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to, I should just grab one of these, right? So that way I don't have to redo it. And Velcro. Okay. So once I'm in here, I want to give them kind of the numbers that were already in it. And so I'm going to change this to a solid background. Okay. And I'm going to do 3, and the middle is going to be blank. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and group them. And then from there we go. Drag them. It looks a little bit big. Might be only about to do like 2. I really want to do 3 on here. Okay, I'm gonna kind of play around with it here and see if I can. I guess I could just put them out to the side. And then copy paste. And then same thing. The nice thing about grouping is they just all get stuck. You can still edit them separately, like their individual text box, by double clicking on them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put in numbers. I'm going to do the last number and the first number. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab another one of these ones that's dashed. And then I'm going to put it again out to the side. And then I'll need 3 of those. Out to the side like that. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. I'm going to fill in all the numbers, and then I'll show you how to upload them onto Google Classroom. Okay. So as soon as I did that, I realized that the square root of 2 is not rational, so I probably would go back and change the title to this to ordering real numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to do that really quick. All right, so these were the 3 slides, and so this would be something, again, you could do this to classwork or whatever. They look pretty good in PowerPoint. Now the idea is that we're going to have them upload them to Google Classroom so that students can submit them virtually. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So the way that you are able to do that is that you are going to actually save the slides as either JPEGs or PNGs, right? So you can either save it either way, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and go there, and you're going to go to export, and you're going to go to change file type, and you can, it doesn't really matter which one you pick, we'll pick JPEG, and then you save as. And so you can save this. I'm going to save it, maybe I should just save it on the desktop for doing this, and we can call this ordering rational numbers. And so from there, it's going to ask you, do you want just this slide, the one that you're currently selected, or do you want all of them? But we want all of them, so we're going to save all of them, and it will save them in a little folder, and I'll show you that on here. Okay, so here they are, right there. So I'm going to go to Google Classroom, and so I'm on Google Classroom, and I'm going to go to my kind of fake class, and this is algebra, but I'm just going to post it in here. So I'm going to go ahead and create an assignment. So to classwork, create an assignment, and I'm going to call this, let's see, this isn't, yeah, it's not really, okay, well, whatever. I always like to do emojis because, let me just do it this way. All right, we'll call it 3, and then we'll call it ordering rational numbers assignment. Okay, and you can kind of you can just create it here, and it'll go ahead and open up in a new slide. You could also just go to your drive and then kind of put it where you want it. So it's kind of up to you what your preference is. If I wanted to go in here and I wanted to just create a new Google slide so it's in that spot, that's fine. Or you can actually create it directly on the presentation. So I'm going to make it so that it saves in my folder, and I'm going to call this ordering real numbers activity, drag and drop activity. Okay. And so what you're going to do, I'm going to first kind of delete all this stuff off here. What you're going to do is you're going to go to background and choose an image, and then you're going to pull the image up from your desktop. So let's see where that folder is, and I'm going to select the first slide and hit open. Okay. And there it is. And the nice thing is that kids can't click on it, which is like what I was having some issues with last year. So they can't click on anything. You don't have to lock a screen. It's just there it is. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and do another one, and I can do the same thing. And because we put those pieces in the margins on the PowerPoint, they're not going to show up on here. And I'll show you how to put them up on here. Okay, and then I'm going to go to background. I'm kind of proud of this. I think it looks really nice. The activity's good too. It's always good to practice ordering numbers. Number sense. Okay, so descending, ascending, and you could even duplicate the slides and just change the background. That's fine too. The tricky part is going to be kind of formatting a little bit those pieces. All right, so they're all in, and again, they can't click on them, and they look pretty good. So we need to pull the pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the PowerPoint, right, which was like here. Nope, here. And I'm going to go to the slide. I'm going to go ahead and select all. No, I'm going to do it one at a time because I can't select them. I'm going to do the window button, and I'm going to hit the arrow so I can see two screens at once. So don't get freaked out by that. Okay, there it is. So I am going to copy and paste. So let me copy this. I'm going to paste it over here. And I'll just do that for each one. Copy, paste. And the way it pastes, it formats on here, it's a little bit messy because you can see it's like it's trying to get it might not match up perfectly because of the style on it, but it'll look decent. So the way that it pasted as an image. Okay. It'll like stack. Yeah, it'll still stack. It's just kind of, it's annoying because well, I guess that's just the box. I don't think it's actually, it's like giving these white boxes on the outside, but I don't think it'll affect the picture. Okay, they're all kind of large. So what you can do to kind of counteract that is we can shrink them down to the right size. So I'm just going to shrink one of them, and you can actually do this at the same time to shrink so that it'll fit, because when you paste them, they paste kind of big. Something else that might be helpful, probably before I start clicking around on them, is if you hit the Shift key and drag it. I know on PowerPoint it'll drag it like at proportional rate, so that's kind of helpful. Alright, so I'm just going to do it underneath it. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Once you get one, you can just kind of stack them. Okay, that looks good. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing for each of the ones. I'm just going to drag them. And let me just... I selected the wrong one. Okay, so I'm going to drag it until it's like the same size. Right, that looks pretty good. And it might just be easier to like drag it on the thing. Okay. This looks a little bit big. And so again, you could just kind of play around with that a little bit. And let me do this last one here, and then I'll fast forward through the other one. So you just have to, again, and it's not perfect, and you can save these like as images. If you wanted, you could save them like as a picture. And so if it was like, if you didn't like that space, you could save them on there. Look at that nice picture of selfie on me. You could save them up here. So it does look probably a little bit better, but it's going to take a lot of time. I think the copy paste method is probably better. And so it probably looks like a little bit nicer, but I don't know if it's worth doing them all like that, because it does, yeah, see, it does like, look, it doesn't have that white space. So if that really bothered you, you could do it that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish kind of resizing. Do the same, you just repeat the same thing for this one. You're going to go to here and just copy paste over all the things. The reason I don't make these just directly into Google is because if you make them directly into Google, the equation editor is not great. And you can use Equino, I think is how you say it, to insert, but it's really pixelated when you start increasing the size. So just something to keep in mind. So now I kind of went through and I sized them correctly. It also might help if you I stack them up, and then just to show you, once you stack them up, you can actually size them simultaneously, and they kind of move at the same pace. So that might be like a tip for fixing that. Probably looking, as my head's cut off, probably looking at this, maybe this shape is really cool, but maybe it's better to use a rectangle or just little squares or something, because those are going to paste a lot nicer. They're not going to leave that weird white space on here. Okay, so now it's pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my assignment. And so I just wanted to say one more thing. So you could do also about adding work. For math teachers especially, you could have the last slide. I'll just do this title slide. And I said this on another video, but you want to make sure too students are zooming in from here, like when they have to read stuff, and not from like the zoom button, because it can get distorted. All right, so you could say, students, please post a picture of your work on this slide. And so they could maybe upload their work, and that's of course optional, and you can, fit that wording as far as what you want that to look like, but you probably want them to include that on there. And the way they would do that would just be to go to insert, down to image, and then to camera, and they could just take a picture on their computer, or they could use their phone too. Okay, so you can add that in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and post it. So I'm going to say, complete the activity and make sure to include your work in order to receive credit. And then you could even, honestly, you can even duplicate this page, because sometimes they need more than one page to show their work. Okay. And some students also like to attach it on the main screen, so that's another option. Okay, so then you would go to Add, Google Drive, and then you would select, the nice thing is if you were just working on it, it'll be right up front. You can select the presentation, and there it is. You want to make sure you change it to make a copy for each student, and then you could put in like if you were grading it or you weren't grading it or whatever, due date. I'll just pick something, it doesn't even matter. And then you would just go down here and hit, you could either do assign or schedule, and topic. This one I'm just going to put, even though it's this is not right, but I'm just going to put Unit 3. And then you would assign it. And that's it. So then it would be saved, and your students would have access to it, and you could go in and kind of grade it as they completed it. So that's kind of it. Hopefully this was very helpful. Just again, a couple of tips. You want to make sure that when you're making the drag and drop, you make the background, and then you make the draggable pieces kind of in the margin. You want to export as either a JPEG or a PNG, and then upload that picture as the background on the Google slide. So that's kind of the main points on there. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great day.